Hello everybody, we are here today live in front of a studio audience and we have George Lawrence, the founder of Merchant Words,
Woo.
keyword software which now works not just in the US but around the globe.
That's right, yes.
And so George is going to talk to us today about the Amazon A9 search algorithm, which is apparently something we all need to know about. Thank you for being here, George.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. It's thrilling. A9, what does it mean? What is it? Well, the interesting thing about A9 is that it's actually a company. It's a spin-off or a subsidiary of Amazon, and it refers to a lot of different things. And so when people say A9, they might be referring to something, the point is, it's a company that encapsulates all of their search and advertising technologies. And so really, if you went to A9.com expecting to find like the secret Amazon search engine, what you'd really find is a company that's got job listings on it that says, come join us. We'd love to have you work for us. So
is it like a wholly owned subsidiary of Amazon?
It is.
So it's just like a piece of the Amazon puzzle?
It is. It's actually one of the many companies that they own, but it manages all of their search technology. So for example, we've all seen the search inside the book. Search inside the book was one of the things that the A9 company came up with for Amazon.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of people know that Amazon, in addition to having their own retail website, they have Amazon Web Services where other companies can use some of their technologies. There's a feature of AWS, Amazon Web Services, called Cloud Search, where you can use Amazon search technologies for your own business. My company happens to use it and things, but
how does that work?
Well, the technology is called Cloud Search. It's, like I said, initially developed by A9, the company. The search technology itself is not called A9, but the interesting thing is you can now kind of piggyback off of the exact same search engine that Amazon uses to power its website for whatever purpose you've got. So if you wanted to, you could wrap your brain around how the Amazon search algorithm works by listing some items and searching through them yourself on your own instance of the Cloud Search powered by A9. Does that make sense?
It sounds a little bit like one of those mirrors where you look back and it goes to infinity. So, but yes, it does make sense.
It's like if you took a copy of Amazon, made it very small, stuck it on your hard drive, and then you can noodle around with how it works.
Okay, cool. So the A9 search algorithm, why is that something, or the A9 company, why is that something that sort of like regular everyday sellers would want to understand?
Well, understanding how A9 works in and of itself is not the goal. The goal is understanding your customers, right? The goal is figuring out what your customers are searching for, figuring out how to get your product in front of customers. That's the overall goal. But the great thing is you can figure out the things that the A9 search algorithm or the Amazon search technology, you can figure out what they're going to do on your behalf, and you're going to figure out the things that you need to do to assist the search. And here's what I mean by that. They're pretty good at figuring out if you type a misspelling, you probably meant the correctly spelled word.
Right.
They're really good at replacing plural endings of words. If you search for a plural but you didn't list that plural in your listing, they'll figure that out. What they aren't yet very good at is understanding completely different synonym meanings. Or let me give you an example. Baking dish and casserole pan. It's an example I use a lot because casserole pan kind of infers what kind of thing you're going to put in the baking dish, right? And so a search engine without being trained on this kind of knowledge wouldn't understand that baking dish and casserole pan are the same things. So search engine technologies will absolutely solve some of that lower hanging fruit, plurals and that kind of misspellings, but they wouldn't necessarily help you solve the larger problems like this product is also called this very different thing, or this product is also searched in other different contexts.
And isn't this also tied in with, I think it's called matrix
keyword
search?
Vectoring, maybe?
Vectoring.
That's the one, yes.
Yeah. So, like if you're searching for duck hunting, then it puts in game.
Yeah.
And kind of starts to understand that ducks are game, and maybe an antelope scope could be used for duck or whatever. So that's vectoring. Is that part of this too?
Yeah, keyword vectoring. Well, the data scientists call keyword vectoring keyword vectoring. That's their term. It sounds a little too sciencey for me. But essentially what it is this sliding scale I was talking about of they start off with knowing what misspellings are and then plurals are, and then you go all the way to now they understand the meanings of words.
Okay.
So that's the idea behind keyword vectoring. And the quick little data science explanation is they understand that, like, say, king and queen are related to each other, but they're related to each other with a concept of gender. But they take that relationship and now they can understand that, like, prince and princess are the exact same relationships. That's how you cross the gender boundaries. And so they understand how related words can also have different variations of themselves.
Huh.
Okay, that's my 10-second version. Yeah, right. Yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, keyword vectoring is really
Yeah.
interesting because now that kind of frees us as Amazon sellers to not necessarily have to worry about every single possible variation of how people refer to things. That lets us now focus on what I call the more purposeful variations. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we'll see people who are searching for a white dress, but they don't just search for a white dress. They search for the purpose or context or reason for why they need a white dress. It might be white dress bridal, white dress quinceañera, white dress baptism, white dress, the 1,000 different reasons why you might want to buy a white dress. And so you'll never be able to automatically map what the user's intention is, but you would be able to map these more syntactic kind of keyword vectoring ideas of understanding synonyms better.
So I love what you said about how that frees us up, because I remember when I first started working with people on listings, I did used to teach people put in alternate spellings. But you're saying now the technology's kind of caught up with that. They know the 6 different spellings of Hanukkah, for example, which I still can never remember how to spell that word correctly. But that if you are selling a white dress, that could be a bridesmaid's dress, quinceanera, whatever, probably not a baptism dress, but what's that called? First communion.
Right.
Then that's where the human element comes in, and then merchant words would come in, and you could start to say, okay, what kinds of keywords are related to bridesmaids? And that's so you kind of get to skip up a level in your thinking about your product.
Exactly. So rather than staying down at the low level, and now, first of all, I'm not saying that you shouldn't help out the Amazon search algorithm by offering some misspellings into your listing if it's appropriate, but I would actually say that they probably got that covered. A lot of smart people who work for Amazon, they probably already figured out how to have the search engine understand synonyms. You should focus on the bigger, kind of higher, top-of-mind style concepts of the different ways people can use your product. And honestly, I'm amazed at the hundreds of different ways a single product can be used, or the different contexts. We talked about the white dress example, but almost every product has multiple use cases in mind. And the interesting thing about merchant words, the thing that first blew my mind, in fact, the thing that made me think I had made a programming error and was collecting incorrect data was as I would look at like a single phrase, I would look at how many different variations of that phrase there are. And I'm thinking, well, that can't possibly be right. And sure enough, there are hundreds of variations of a typical products, how people search for them. And these variations almost always are the different contexts that people have in mind for what the product is. Sure, there's some misspellings and things like that that could be fixed by keyword vectoring and whatnot, but the biggest variant is how people intend to use it.
Yeah, and you read a lot, if you stay tuned, about how AI, artificial intelligence, is like a huge technology trend, if you could even call it a trend. But that's really what AI is trying to do. I mean, the human mind is capable of understanding these vast connected pieces of information, and technology still can't do it. It's very hard.
Right. And people can do it really well. You walk down an aisle, you walk down the baking aisle in any store, and you say, I'm looking for casserole pans. A human would say, oh, you mean baking dishes? Right here. But your computers still need to be trained. And so this is what I'm saying is in the early days, we had to help out the algorithm by offering all the misspellings to it. But now we don't have to do that so much, but now we still have to offer all the alternate meanings and all the alternate contexts.
So now let's go back to A9. So the A9 company and understanding, do they put out press releases? How do we, or do we just have to observe the results?
Well, honestly, I would love to go visit the folks at A9. It's as soon as you make any change to anything, would you notify me, please? If you let us know. I hope they would say yes to that. Right. Yeah. I hope they would say yes to that, but I doubt they're going to. But the idea is we learn by observing. Right, and that's pretty much how we all improve our business or all improve any aspect of our life. Right, we give it a go. Let's see how this turns out. Oh, look, I observed this new thing. Let me bake that into my business plan or whatever. And let me go off a little bit of a tangent here. This is important not just for the listing of our product, but for the product itself. If we learn through whatever kind of feedback, either through user searches or through their actual feedback on the product, that something needs to be tweaked, if that tweak is to the listing itself with some new keywords, or if that tweak is to the product itself with some kind of improvement, we need to always be refining.
Yeah, absolutely. And a really good way to do that can also be to look at reviews too, because people say, oh, I used this for this and it was great. And you might have never thought of that was a use for that product, or your competition's reviews and what they said, or similar products. So there's so many different places you can find that information out. Of course, in Merchant Words as well.
Yeah, if Merchant Words didn't exist, I'm glad it does. But if if it didn't exist, I would say go read every single review that your product's ever gotten and look at the different things people are doing with your product. And
I think you should do that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about that at all.
I mean, it depends where you're at. Like if you're somebody who's selling a whole bunch of different products, maybe not. But when you start to hone in on a smaller number of SKUs, it's a really good way to learn about your product and read reviews on other websites and in Google and stuff like that. But back to the A9. So the A9 search, though, has been around like since the early days of Amazon, right?
Yeah, well, you know, this is where we're using the term A9 to sort of as like a placeholder term. It just means Amazon search technology. In fact, they've changed the underlying search engine a few times. It initially was cloud search, and that was powered by an algorithm that A9 first wrote. They've since moved off to other, I don't want to get into the weeds of the details, but the implementation is now off of Apache Lucene and Apache Solr. Those are some other open source search technologies that you know, the A9 folks have implemented inside of Amazon. The point is, though, when we say A9, we're typically just kind of using it as a placeholder term that means search technology.
Okay.
And as we mentioned, their search technology changes, could potentially change all the time, but even if their underlying technology doesn't change, what we actually see as the end result is, of course, always in flux. I'm sure everybody who's ever sold anything on Amazon will tell you that not only your position changes, is like what's above you changes, what's below you changes, it's always changing all the time. And so to your earlier question, we always have to pay attention to what's happening.
Right. And then, of course, now we have this new added dimension of audio search, where people are ordering stuff with their devices, with their Alexa.
Yep.
And so we have the ability to optimize our listings for audio search as well.
Exactly right. And I love the idea that all you have to do is say, hey, buy me a dollhouse, and all of a sudden there's a dollhouse that shows up. That happened to somebody.
Yep.
The news picked up that story, and the news reporter said, I can't believe that all you have to do is say, Alexa, buy me a dollhouse, and it shows up. Well, everybody who was listening to that news report bought a dollhouse because the guy on the TV said it, right?
Now Alexa confirms.
Yeah, right.
Because my 6-year-old has figured that out. I'm like, no, stop.
And you know, there's a great opportunity to have, the idea I've always told everyone is put yourself in the mind of your customer, right? Think about what they're going to say if they buy something with their voice on Alexa. Think about what they're going to type if they're on a small form factor, their cell phone or whatever. Think about what they're going to type when they're on a full-size keyboard relaxing at the end of the day. Put yourself in their shoes, and not only will that help inform you to understand what the keywords are best to connect with them, but also that'll inform your entire listing. Is my photography right for that kind of use case? Is the listing itself, is the title, is all that? Even to the point of your product. If you can now put yourself in the mind of your customer better, you might make improvements to your product as well.
Yeah, I think it's also a great way to do bundles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always say don't sell somebody a to-do list. So if you know what your customer's doing with your product, you can give them everything they need to do that, so they don't have to then go out and buy another thing or do another thing if possible. So how does Merchant Words help sellers with the A9 search algorithm?
Well, to help understand exactly what Amazon's going to do, I think it's critical to understand all the different ways that people search for your product, and that's the problem we try to solve for you. And that was actually the initial itch I was trying to scratch as a seller myself. Is like, look, I know that my product should show up under these keywords, but what are all the keywords that people use when they search for my product? I have no idea what all the different variations are. And that was kind of the inspiration that led to me to try to create a thing that would discover that, and that became Merchant Words. I'm thrilled that other people can use it too, because that really is the crux. Like I was saying earlier, you got to understand what's in the mind of your customer, and your customer will tell you if you just listen to their searches. They'll tell you everything they're going to use a white dress for. They'll tell you if they want their dog bowl to be gold-plated or elevated or come with a cup holder on the side, or how deep they want it to be.
Right.
It's right there in the search. And since they're asking you to make that thing, their search variations could be used for your sourcing decisions, could be used for your product improvement decisions. But even if you don't take it to that level, it can still be used just to improve the listing of your existing product, even if you don't change your product at all.
Right. Right. And, you know, the most important thing is you want to put terms in your listing so that when it comes up in search, the person looking at it wants to buy it.
Yep.
So If your listing comes up and people are looking for a quinceanera dress and yours is a baby's baptism white dress, then they're not going to click on it. So it is a balance between making sure you're being truthful about your customer and what they want, and not just putting a million keywords in that might possibly apply to some person.
Exactly right. I've had customers write us in and they're like, hey, I use keywords you suggested, and good news, my listings are higher than they've ever been. I'm way up high in the search results, but I haven't seen an increase in sales. What am I doing wrong? I'm like, well, you succeeded in getting your listing visible to more eyeballs, but you didn't succeed in getting the buy finger to click. So you got to figure out what incentivizes or what's going to get people excited about your product to want to click on it and buy it.
Yeah. Search and keywords and marketing will not solve a product that nobody wants.
That's right. And you can't, even if you could force your way to be on the homepage of on the top #1 page of every single search term, chances are nobody's going to want to buy it. You need to be relevant. Get on top of the search result page for exactly what people are looking for.
So how can you creatively use search to help you find good products to source, however you're sourcing?
Yeah, well, what I would say is pay special attention to both the search terms and their variations that you see. You know, a tool like Merchant Words will help you see that. But if you don't have access to Merchant Words, you can just type it in the bar yourself, right? And look at all the suggestions that pop down right in the Amazon search bar. In addition to that, like we were mentioning earlier, take a look at all of the feedback that products get. And these kinds of variations, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I always come back to it, but these variations get you in the mind of your customer. They help you understand what your customer is looking for. And very often, and this is what you're hoping for, very often exactly what they're looking for doesn't quite exist yet in Amazon, or exists in a way that very few other people are selling at. That's your opportunity. So the answer is discover those little hidden gems and then jump into those. And now that hidden gem might be a whole new product that never existed before, or it might just be a new dimension on a product, a new feature added to a product, some kind of small enhancement, or it could be honestly simply just a better way to market an existing product. If you're selling the exact same thing, but you're marketing it better, I mean, look at Starbucks. It's coffee, for crying out loud. Right? It's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. But the point is, you're going to see an opportunity by paying attention to how people are searching for things. You'll see an opportunity by paying attention to how people are giving their feedback on things. No matter how you get it, get that knowledge of what makes a customer tick and then use that for your business.
Great. Thank you so much for being our guest today, George.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Woo.
Hi, and welcome to the Scanner Society. We are a chamber of commerce for online selling entrepreneurs. Our members sell on Amazon, Jet, eBay, and beyond. We are brand builders and marketplace merchants, side hustlers, and full-timers who simply want to help each other. Join and connect at live events and online. We leverage the power of a large group to bring deals and resources to our members. You can save money with our discounts and learn in our interviews. You will also enjoy our Safe Zone, which is free of affiliate marketing and the guru mentality. We offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, so join today and become a part of community-connected commerce.